everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to create this very cute Christmas bauble and I'll be using the Noble Peacock Specialty Designer Series paper from the annual catalogue when I'm demonstrating for you today, but you can use any of your designer series papers. Here are a couple of baubles that I've made using the gorgeous papers from the Christmas time suite that's available while stocks last, and also the toil paper. I've made a couple of with these as well to give away to some of my customers. So yeah, and you can create a little tag to go on it as well, which is really cute. So if you want to give them away as gifts, you can write on the back and give them away with a little tag using the circle framelits. So let me show you how I created these baubles. There's a couple of measurements that I wanted you to, you'll need to write these down from when you look down underneath the video, but I have actually I've written them down here, so I'm going to show you what the measurements are. I'm going to tell you what the measurements are, but if you don't remember them, don't worry. So you'll need strips of cardstock or paper, designer series paper or specialty paper, which is what I'm using, and the measurements are 7 3/4 in length and 1 5/8 in width. So you'll need to cut 3 of those strips, and that's what we're going to use to create our bauble. I have also changed up a little bit from the recipes and the instructions that I've seen online, and I have used some coordinating strips of the designer series paper, so that you've got a bit of a variation with your baubles. So you can either use a couple of different patterns from the same paper suite, or you can keep it simple and just use the one pattern like I've done with this toil paper here. It's really up to you, and it probably also depends on the pattern that is actually on your designer series paper. So you'll need 3 of these, as I've said, and I've actually gone ahead and scored 3 of these, and I just wanted to show you how to score along intervals along the long side of each strip. So you'll need to do this with each strip, and I have got my my Simply Scored here, which makes it super easy, and I've also put my place markers in so that you'll be able to you won't have to remember all these measurements, but if you are measuring and you'd like to know what each of the measurements are. So this one is at 6 inches and 7/8. This one here is 4 inches and 7/8. This one is 3 inches and a quarter, 3 1/4 inches, 1 1/4 inches, and also a 1/2 inch. So I always score from this end down to that end. It helps keep your piece of cardstock straight and stops it from moving around too much. So you'll actually want to score along each of these the same way. And the next thing you're going to do is get one of your circle dies. Now this is from the Layering Circles dies pack, and it's the 3rd largest circle. So if you're trying to work out which circle you should be using, you want to arrange all your circles out and pick the 3rd largest one. So going from the outside of the plain circles, from the outside in, this is number 3. And in between each of the larger intervals, so we've got, if I just bend it for you, so we've got, this is one of the larger intervals, and then this also is one of the larger intervals. You want to use your piercing mat. And I'm using, with the Simply Scored stylus, I'm actually using the smaller end because this is quite thick this designer series paper. It's the specialty, as I said, it's the Pretty Peacock Specialty Designer Series, Noble Peacock, sorry, Designer Series paper, and it's quite thick, it's cardstock weight. So you'll need to use the smaller end of your scoring tool in order to get a deep score line, or a deep enough score line, so that you can do the last part of this when you're assembling your bauble. So you'll need to do both sides in between these two intervals, and you're going to score these semicircles, or part circles as they are, on each of the 3 items. So I've actually got 2 of the Night of Navy and 1 of the Old Olive. And you can see I've actually scored my semicircles there and there on each of them. Alright, so now what we need to do is put some double-sided tape on the smaller flaps. So if you bend the edges of where you've scored, following the score line measurements along your Simply Scored, and I'll put these down the bottom, you've got a small flap at one end and a larger flap at the other end. So you're going to put your double-sided tape right up to that score line on the small end. And I'm going to use tear and tape for that because it's super simple. So I'm just going to put that there. Going up to, but not over the top of, that score line. And then just tear it off. Okay, so you're going to expose those later to bring your the other end around and to secure that there to create the parts of your bauble. And what I'm going to do on one of these, I've got 3 of them here. I'm going to put a hole in one of them, and that will also serve as the hole for the ribbon that's going to go through, and that allows you to hang your bauble from your tree or wherever you would like to put it, and that's secure in there. So I'm going to show you how to make a little reinforcement for your ribbon, whatever ribbon you choose to use, and that involves cutting a 1/2-inch circle. So it doesn't actually matter what colour you use for this. I've got an old 1/2-inch circle punch here, but the new ones are the flat punch style. So you're just going to punch out one of these 1/2-inch circles out of any spare cardstock that you've got, and bring in your hole punch. I'm using the crocodile, and you want to put a circle up, like a hole punch the same size as the hole in your piece of Old Olive. I've actually put the hole in one of the pieces of Old Olive. So you'll notice that it's halfway between these 2 semicircles, and also halfway between these 2 straight score lines, right in the middle of that piece, and that's the same sized hole there. So with our ribbon, what we want to do is get a piece, so it's about 8 inches long, and we're going to fold it in half like that, and then just tie a knot, bring the 2 ends through, and then make the knot secure at one end like that, and make it as long as possible so that you've got plenty of space to hang. And then I'm going to squish this little end up, so this is the end that doesn't have the knot, and I'm going to push it through this little hole, and then slide the disc down to where the knot is. So it's not going to go any further than that. And then again, I'm going to thread through the hole here. Just make that point a little bit more distinct, and then grab that. And you'll notice at the back, as you pull it, then that creates a little bit of a reinforcement, so that the knot, there's no danger of the knot pulling through that hole there, and your ribbon will be nice and secure. Okay, so I have actually put all of my double-sided tape on, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that now. I'm going to grab my scissors if I can find them, or maybe I'll just use my nails. There they are. Alright, so I like to use my scissors for this because it's just easy to get the ends off. So I'm going to bring this one around first, and you want to bring the other end around so that it is flush with that first fold line and going over the top of the double-sided tape. So that's number one. You'll notice it sort of creates a little bit of an oblong shape there. And the other one, I'm going to grab another one of my Night of Navy pieces and just bring that around. Same thing, bring it up until it meets that little score line there. Okay, so I'm going to make that into a oblong shape as well. So what we want to do is create a box using this, and we're going to put this one inside of this one. So I'm going to just tuck that in there and slide it in so that you've actually got a box shape. Now it might be a little bit tight, but that's okay, because what we want to do is create a box shape, and I don't know if you can see, but you actually want to have these semicircles here adjacent to the semicircles there. All right. We also want to be able to hide the joint, and I'll show you how that happens in a minute, because we're going to be threading the last piece. We're not going to expose the tape until the very end. We're going to be threading the last piece through, over and under all these little sections here. And there's a little trick that's involved that will help you hide the seams and also make it work in terms of when you're doing the final folds, which are along those those curvy score lines. So let me show you the little trick. All you need to remember is that you're going to go inside the inner square and outside the outer square. So the inner square here, the inner cube I should say, is the Old Olive, and the outer one is the Night of Navy. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to go with my my taped end first. I'm just going to bend it a little bit. Now this is a little bit more tricky than working with the less thick designer series paper, because you've got a little bit more leeway with that. This one is a little bit stiffer, so you just need to be patient with it and work with it, but it will work, as you can see. And so I've gone inside the Old Olive, and then I'm just going to bring my second piece of the Night of Navy over the outside of the outer cube, so that's going to hide our seam. Okay, so I'm going to bring that in, and then I'll just bend it again just a little bit, and then poke it into there, and then bring it out the other side. Okay, so that's again going inside the inner Old Olive piece. And then on the outside here, I'm just going to wiggle it a little bit while I've got the ends free. Just going to wiggle it a little bit down so that it's not exactly square, because I'm going to adhere those two ends together. And if I don't make it exactly square, it's going to be a little bit easier. So let me just push that through a tiny weeny bit. You just don't want it to be square on, because it's a little bit tricky to organise, or to get those bends around the other square, if you know what I mean. All right, so let me just peel that off. There we go. And I've exposed that tape, and you just want to stretch it up and make sure that that meets again just before that fold line. You don't want it too tight, so make sure you adhere it in exactly the right spot. And then what I'm going to do is just move it around. We want to hide that seam, and we also want to expose the little semicircles that we have created, so we can do the last folds I'm just easing that through. Takes a little while. Scooting it around so you can just kind of bend it really gently. And just keep moving it around. And I don't know if you can see, but those semicircles are now lined up with the rest of it. So we've got semicircle, semicircle, and there, and again on the other side, and up the top we've got these two as well. Okay, so now we're ready to bend all of our semicircles to create this ball shape, and this is how you do it. Just want to rest it down there and just kind of pinch along where you've made those score lines. And I'll just do the two sides at once, like that. And then you want to go to the next side, so you're going to go to all 6 sides of the cube to do this part. There we go. Just keep going around, and eventually you will end up with this shape. Okay, so you just keep patiently going around, and you just want to use your fingers to push each of those in at that curved score line, and the top one as well with the ribbon, and then the last one here. This is the last one. And if you need to, you can just pinch the edges like that where they'll meet together, where the corners meet together, just to neaten them up. But that's looking pretty good. So it is a little bit more tricky to do it with the stiffer cardstock or the Specialty Designer Series paper. Not impossible. And this paper is just gorgeous. If you have got some in your stash and you're wondering how to use it at Christmas time, this is a great way to use it. And of course we do have some beautiful Designer Series paper in the normal weight that you can use. Plenty of that for your Christmas baubles. That would be beautiful on a tree or even tied to a gift. I will put all of the instructions and the measurements down below. If you want to order anything from my store, especially for the year-end closeouts or any of the other items that you might have on your wish list for holiday crafting, make sure you visit my store and you can browse and shop there. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed learning how to make these cute little Christmas baubles. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you later. Bye.